Well, good morning, good morning, good morning to everybody. Blessings on your life. It's another day that the Lord has made, and we're going to rejoice and be glad in it. I apologize for my voice on this morning. I sound really tired, and as if I just got up, and I kind of did. Uh, but when I just get up, I don't just get up and run to the computer. I get up, I clean up, okay, and then I come to the computer. But my voice, I have not used my voice today. I was um, I was out with uh, my granddaughter on yesterday. We spent the day together, and she informed me that she was doing an extra credit project on today as it relates to the Super Bowl, dealing with the ads or the commercials that were in between the game. And the assignment was an assignment to discover the power of persuasion. That was the objective of the assignment. And the teacher, she gave her three components to examine. I'm going somewhere. And out of those components, there were three words that were what I would say is extremely significant because they really speak to what has happened to us as a people. And when I say that, I don't mean to put that in a category. Well, I do and I don't, of just black people. I'm saying this is the way of the world. And so it was three pieces to that. One was uh, the pathos, some people may say. The other one was the ethos that some people may say. And the last one was the logos. And so she gave her those three components, and she defined those three components for her. Now, this is the criticality now of where we are going. And I really want you to hear me on this morning. Give me a second to set the message up and preference it the way that it needs to be preferenced, because this is one of the challenges now that we are having. And as I always say that it is the existential position that many of us have found ourselves into. Now, notice this: the teacher gave my granddaughter the definitions of ethos and pathos and logos. In the definitions, she defines pathos as evoke pity or sadness. It is basically a message to convey an emotional connection. It is a message to convey an emotional connection. Now, I want you to hear me, and I want you to think about this today, because it is a day where probably 90% of America will be tuned in uh, to watching the Kansas City Chiefs take on the San Francisco 49ers. Big day, right? So she's challenging them to view the commercials and the ads and report back as it relates to the emotional connection related to those ads. The second one is ethos. And ethos is to give credibility or authority, to give credibility or authority. Now, this is by her definitions or definitions that she has concluded, and it says that she has concluded based upon uh, um, uh, maybe Webster dictionary and things like that. But I'm trying to take us somewhere. The last one is logos, and logos deals with the reasoning part of the mind. It deals with the reasoning part of the mind. Now, let me just move in and center myself a little bit. I did this on purpose, the way I positioned myself today, because I wanted you to see the navigation star that was behind me that deals with the north, east, south, and west. I wanted you to see that because in that is what it suggests to us. This could be kind of like an ad, right? Or like a commercial. What it suggests to us, it gives us a subliminal message that we are navigating. And as we navigate, we are hearing, we are listening to the sounds that are directing us in a certain direction. It's telling us to go us to a certain place. It's telling us how to understand. It's informing us on how to get from point A to point B. Now, this is a very good thing, but yet it can be a very bad thing depending on the navigational agenda and system, the structure that is behind it. If those now that are giving the direction of which way to go and how to get there, and all the other pieces or components, if you will, that goes with that, if they have an ulterior motive, an agenda that is behind it, and if that agenda is not to your favor, then at the end of the day, you still lose. And so this becomes important. So as I was riding and talking with my granddaughter on yesterday, we went out and we had a fun day, you know, grandpa and granddaughter, and we went bowling. And so it is always my objective to talk and to find out, you know, where my baby's at, what she's thinking about, what's going on in her life. So I'm asking her questions, scholastic questions. I want to know where she's at, how does she feel about it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so as we were traveling, and she started talking to me about the extra credit in her class, I wanted to know from her. I said, well, how do you feel about that? And what is the objective? I said, it's always important for you to understand the objective of the assignment. Where is it going? So she says, well, the challenge is that she wants us to understand the power of persuasion. And then she went on to define those three words for me by those definitions that I gave you. However, the question that I have and the concern that I have is that all three of those definitions, albeit that they are correct, but they are incorrect just as well. They are correct, but they are incorrect just as well. You really need to listen and hone in on this piece, because this is where a lot of us are going. And so we have been programmed to understand and to walk by what has been given to us, what has been presented to us as to be the truth, number one, or to be what is right, or the thing to do. And a lot of times, the truth, what is right, or the thing to do is not the truth, what is right, or the thing to do for you. That could be for another section of people, as it were, okay, for another group, that could really be designed to benefit not so much your group of people. Now I'm talking, and you have to read between the lines as I talk here, because what I told my granddaughter was that the school systems are set up to program you in such a way for you to walk circumspectant and circumspect, or with regard to what they feel is appropriate. However, what we have discovered is that as we get older, a lot of the curriculum, the education that we have received from our school systems, have not provided an adequate um, um, a level of skill and education and guidance for us to navigate through this world successfully. It has given it for certain people, and that is all by design as well. Now, let me continue and get into this a little bit, because this is important to my message today. I want to challenge us with this thought, and my title today is navigating life by knowing the king's language. I want to say that again. My subject matter today, my title is navigating life by knowing the king's language. Now, I want you to understand this, that we are in this world, but we are not of this world. So that means now that because we are in this world, then we are going to be impacted by what we are in, because we are in it. We know that we're moving to a place that's going to be out of it, because we are not of this world, but right now we are in this world. It is very critical for us to be to adapt. It's very critical for us to be skilled, to have wisdom, to have knowledge and understanding in the space or the place that we live in, even though it's temporary and it's really an illusion, if you will. But that illusion can last you for 100 years if you live that long. That illusion can last you for 70 years. That illusion can keep you into poverty. That illusion can have you to where you do not achieve and you don't experience happiness. You don't experience the things that's going to give you the wherewithal to accomplish what you need or what you desire to accomplish in life. So therefore, we still need to be in this world with an understanding, with a knowledge, and with a wisdom. Now, I want to say this, or let me just get into. Let me just read the scripture here, and then I'll say it. So we've been talking in out of the book of Daniel, the first chapter, and it seems to have arrested me, and I can't escape it, because it seems like everywhere I go and I turn, that all roads are pointing back to this particular place that is biblical. This particular place that is biblical. Yet it is very relevant and current to where we are today. So I want you to see this. I want you to hear. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. In Daniel chapter 1, beginning at verse number 3, it says, and the king spake unto Aspenaz. Now, understand, this king now is little k. The king speaks. The king represents the executives. The king represents the gatekeepers. The king represents the policymakers. The king represents the legislators. The king represents the prominent voices of today, the voices that are more pronounced than the other voices. The king, little k, it represents the influences of today, that which you are going to walk by. Now, watch this. And the king spake unto Aspenaz, and Aspenaz, the master of the eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel. He should bring certain of the children of Israel. Now, you have to understand something, that the king is always looking, he always has an eye out for those that are not of his fold, because the objective now is to mold and to shape those that are not of his fold, or those that are not his kind, those that are not to his liking, those that don't look like him, that would not readily agree with him. I want to see by the power now of persuasion if I can bring them in. Now, listen to me. He says here that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed, because I always need to do a comparison, whether it be a comparison between Asians and whites, blacks and whites, Asians and black. I need to understand a demographic. I need to understand and locate where they are mentally and skillfully. I need to understand that. So bring me children of Israel and the king's seed and the princes. Now, these are three distinct categories. He says, I want the children of Israel, I want the king's seed, which is those that will follow me easily. They will follow me easily. And then I want, and of the princes of the elite class, We'll talk about that one day. Verse number 4, it says, children of whom was no blemish. The king now, in the place that you live in, and maybe the distraction or the hurdle, the challenge that you have is that there is a blemish according to the king. So the king is always looking for those of us, those of the others that don't have blemishes, that don't carry issues, that don't have records, that ain't been in prison, and all those different things, know how to talk, know how to present themselves. Okay, he says, bring me children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, well behaved, that they had a reputation that followed them, and skillful in all wisdom, in cunning and knowledge and understanding science, cunning and knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability, in them to stand in the king's palace. Now, I talked a little bit about this the other day, and one of the issues that we have is whether or not we can stand before the king. When I say that is, can you go and you do an interview, and while you're during the interview, when you leave there, those that are doing the interview, they are pleased. That means that I can stand. Standing before the king is if you are in philanthropy, or if you are a person that you are creative and you are an entrepreneur, and you can do the things that can create an environment around you to be able to stand before the king. Now, standing before the king is to be able to stand in a world now that is according to his mind, the way that he wants for things to operate. That is what it means to stand before the king. To stand before the king is to understand the king's ways, to understand the king's laws, to understand the king's thoughts, and all that. That is what it means to stand in the king's palace. Now, and whom they might teach. This is where my message is going today. And whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And I close the book, and the word of the Lord is blessed. And whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans, the tongue of the Chaldeans. Now, the underlying objective of the assignment for my granddaughter was for her now to subliminally to walk in accordance with a language now that I'm trying to get you to know, to understand, and to walk in it. The language and the tongue of the Chaldeans. Can I teach them my ways? Can I teach them my tongue? Hence is the reason why we have the star that is behind me as a navigational picture. The star. Then we have different people now that are listening. Are you, the old folks used to say, are you listening, cheering? Are you listening? So we have people now that have an attentive ear. But my concern and my caution to the wind is the ear absorbing and taking in things that is not going to necessarily benefit them, although it may be good, it may be true, it may be very real. We can glean some truth and some wisdom and knowledge from it. However, we have to now condition ourselves to be more prepared, to be more ready, to have an understanding, to go beyond to see beyond what is not being said or what is not being seen. So even as you look at this picture, this backdrop behind me, what is it really saying and what is it not saying? And so you have to understand both to be able to read in between the lines. Now, I wrote something here, and I'm going to be short with you all today because it is Super Bowl Sunday, and I know everybody is trying to get ready for Super Bowl Sunday. Ain't that something? So I wrote down here, I said, as much as it bothers me as it relates to the egregious and unjust pay behaviors towards Monique, Taraji Henson, and other notable Black talent in Hollywood, I can only say that at the end of the day, they got what they agreed to. Now, understand, I preface this by saying it is egregious to me. It bothers me. But as much as it bothers me, I can only say that at the end of the day, they got what they agreed to. Now, I'm going to give you four pieces here. Number one, they got what they agreed to. This is where I'm going with understanding the mind of the king, understanding the mind of the king, and navigating life by knowing the king's language. I've been talking about in my lives the new Black slave masters and the gatekeepers. Now watch this. Taraji and Monique and other notable Black actors and actresses are being shortchanged, but this is predominantly the reason why. At the end of the day, they got what they agreed to. Now, the reason why this happens is because so many of us are in places now to where we have to surrender because of circumstances. Remember Rufus L. Perry? He says that there's two things that are standing in between the Cushites of old and the Cushites of new, the current, the modern Cushites. And one of those is circumstances. He says accident and circumstances. I told you that I was going to unpack it, but I'm trying to be strategic in the way that I do unpack this. Now watch this. I can only say that at the end of the day, they got what they agreed to. They agreed to it based upon circumstances. And a lot of us, we have to agree to certain things, whether it's by white folks, whether it's by policy, whether it's by contract, whether it's by the new gatekeepers, whatever it is. We get what we are supposed to get because we agree to it, even though we agree to something that later on that's going to be egregious to us, that's going to bring us a sourness, is going to It's going to cause our stomachs to drop. It's going to create a pit in your stomach because you're going to look back on it and say, I can't believe that they did this to me. When in all actuality, the onus, some of the onus, a great deal of the onus is going to come back to you. You're doing it to yourself. You agreed to it for whatever the circumstances are. Now, watch this. Number two, what was coming to them. That was the second one. They agreed to it. And then the second one is they got what was coming to you. Did you agree to $35,000 to do the movie? Well, you got what was coming to you because you agreed. Now, let's go on. Number three. Was you agreed to what was unfair, be known to you or unbeknownst to you. You agreed to what was unfair. Okay. Now, this don't take away the pit in my stomach listening to the interviews of Taraji and Monique and others that are out there that don't carry the voice weight of those two, because those two, they done made it. You talking about Oscar nominees and winners, right? So their pathway is paved, but in that there is a unjust component that goes with it. I'm going somewhere. I'm just saying this is Black History Month, the Super Bowl day, and all this, but I'm trying to help you to understand an existential trajectory that we are all lined up for. That it is all suggesting that we go down this particular path. I'm trying to say something to guide and lead us into a different direction. Now, watch this. And what was according to, this is the number four, what was according to their knowledge and understanding based upon their circumstances. A lot of us today, we are living with this trouble, this condemning, this mistreatment because of our knowledge and our wisdom and because of circumstances, right? We don't know. The Bible says in Hosea 4:6 that my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. Now, does this nullify, does it minimize what Monique and Taraji went through and are going through? And does it say that Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry and others that may be the gatekeepers or the money, the banks now that control a lot of those people's destinies? Am I saying that they are right or wrong? I'm not saying that one way or the other. And I'm not saying that this right here is to say that they should do the right thing according to Taraji and according to Monique. I'm just pointing it all out because when you set on one side of it, especially once you have achieved, this is where it comes in, the new Black slave masters. You start to view the other side because you have achieved. You start to view the other side perhaps like your teachers did, your white counterparts or slave masters, the way that they looked at it. And so now that view that you have looking at the other side, not remembering that you once were on that other side, you have forgotten, but you don't view it that way. You're looking at it from another or out of another lens. Now this becomes critical and hurtful, okay? But it's our reality. I'm getting ready to close, and I want to say a couple things before I do. While I was in school, and I was going and getting my doctorate's degree, I was blessed to be graced by one of the best scholars of Cushite modernity, Black modernity. And he's been all around the world, taught in HBCUs and all that. His name is Dr. Walter Earl Fluker. Um, and he is a scholar, a classical scholar in his own right, and he's written many books. I would encourage you to go out as well as getting the Rufus L. Perry book. Dr. Walter Earl Fluker is more current, and he's got some wonderful work that he's done that is out there. I was privileged to set, and most of us now, you know, we were getting schooled by people that are not renowned like this. When I went through school, they brought the scholars, the renowned scholars, they brought them to the university. And we actually sat in the classes with them. It used to be the program that I had, you would actually go to where they were. So years back, they would go to Africa and stuff like that. You know, things have changed. And so that's not affordable anymore. So we bring those scholars to us. He said this to me in the class, and he pulled me to the side and he says, Donnie, he says, in this class, he says, if you don't get anything else out of this class, I want you to get and remember this. He says, always know the king's language. If you don't get anything else out of this class, always know the king's language. He was so serious about that. And he was serious about that because the king's language is the language of the world. And as I said earlier, that we are not of this world, but we are in this world. And if you're going to journey through this world successfully, then you have to know, you have to have an awareness, you have to have an understanding of the king's language. So in my close, much of what we are experiencing today is due to not knowing the king's language in business, science, education, etc. This is it. This is my final point. The data shows this. The data shows this, that careers are directly related to math. Careers are directly related to math. I want you to hear this out. Hear me out, because this is very important. There was a report, and this report came from the Institute for Policy Studies. You can Google it, Institute for Policy Studies. The name of it was called The Road to Zero Wealth. The Road to Zero Wealth. It says that by 2053, Black people will have a median net worth. When I say Black people, I'm talking about households. Households will have a median net worth of $0 by 2053. Now, this is the research that came from the Institute for Policy Studies. Now, a lot of people can argue that and say that, well, you know, it's a Black organization. It's not vetted. It's not peer reviewed. All that stuff. That's all according to, like, my baby Halo. When you look at ethos, pathos, and logos, and it's because they have designed it that you only receive and get the quality information, the information that is real, that is true. It has to be vetted through our process. And so now we're discovering all these other things. And with that, they're saying, well, it's not been peer reviewed by our people. You see what I'm saying? And so we have to get beyond that to other people that may be listening and say, well, where did you get the information from? And so what, you know, who are they and all that kind of stuff? Well, we're starting to wake up now. I don't want to say woke, but, you know, we're starting to wake up and come to life, to the agenda, to the plan, to the plot, to the strategy that has been put before us to keep us oppressed and in a certain place. So it says that by 2023, the Black household net worth will be at $0, while white households will climb to 137,000, while white by 2053. That ain't too far off. Point number two, another report shows that low earning jobs that are under 50,000, between 35,000 and 50,000, are 14 times more likely to disappear in the next 5 to 10 years. Why do I say that? Because most African American people, black skinned people, they embrace jobs today that are under 50,000. And those jobs that are under 50,000, 9 times out of 10, they are absent of a mathematical component. That means that there are things as it relates to understanding science and math that are not attached to it. But the way of the world, the trend of the world is going towards mathematical stuff. So if they continue to devise a plan, they see it. They do studies on your demographics. They know from the first, second, and third grade, the trend. They see how it's trending, how black people are performing as it relates to math and science and biology and all that stuff. They see how it's going. So they continue to structure to put you out. Now, I don't mean that carte blanche, but basically, it all works to their advantage. And so as time goes on, the trajectory now will show that you will be at the bottom. Why? Because all the jobs are moving towards a certain direction that includes a certain mathematical language, understanding, and astuteness, to be astute, right? Uh, um, and this all will happen primarily if we won't attack math and science. I don't know if you got anything out of that or not. It is, still Black History Month. And I just wanted to pass on something, because we listen to a lot of stuff. We on TikTok, we on Instagram. We hearing a whole bunch of stupid stuff, silliness, just all kind of stuff is going on when, you in this world, and it's creeping up on us. It's like when you put the frog in the pot, and you continue in a pot of water, and you continue to turn it up slowly. Next thing you know, the water is boiling. The frog never realized that they was in a pot of water that was boiling, and then they become extinct. They die out. I don't want that to happen to Black people. Okay, this is not to knock down. It's not a prejudice thing or anything like that. It's just that I'm concerned about where we are, and I'm concerned about our interests, right? So this presentation today is just merely something to give you some food for thought, and to realign you, possibly point you in a different direction. Remember this, men and women of God, the worst is over, the best is yet to come. Your quality of life is getting better and better and better. And because of that, you will live and not die, and declare the works and the will of the Lord for your life. I am Dr. Donnie Eatman. I'm the face of Face to Face Ministries. Remember this, that the Lord loves you so much that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever would believe on him would not perish, but have everlasting life. Everlasting life. I want you to share this. I want you to give it a thumbs up. I want you to give it a like. Pass it on to a neighbor, to a friend, and possibly to an enemy. I want you to go today, go in God's speed, go in God's word, go in God's knowledge, wisdom, and his understanding, go in God's love, go in God's peace, and go in God's grace. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy this chill, this warm weather that we are having, and don't eat too much during the Super Bowl game. God bless you, and shalom.